Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm very humbled, not only by the comfort of the seating they've given us today, but also all of you for attending. So thank you. Um, what we're going to do today is, I hope, build upon all of the magnificent speakers and content that we've heard so far, right? So what I'm going to provide with you is a little bit of a personal background and then a framework that you could apply as an individual, just for yourself. Like maybe you're not going to move mountains this year, but you're going to start finding a level of confidence in order to attempt that next year. That said, we're going to go over how to become a strategic partner to your business and product teams. And I say 90 days only because it's been my experience at multiple companies that it's around that 90-day window where you've got that trust. Maybe you have a hero that's helping champion you, and you start getting those little tiny wins, and then builds basically the runway for the big wins that matter. Well, all right, a little bit about me. So thank you, Peter. Yes, this is an actual, perfect pronunciation of my name. It is Carenza. Yes, my surname is Hogan. That is also my maiden name. So if this news flash isn't hitting you yet, I was adopted from Korea by an American family, very eccentric, who decided that it was a great idea to raise me in the deep South in the late 70s and 80s. So yeah, my journey, it's been a little different, but it brought me to San Francisco. San Francisco was supposed to be 1 year, and it turned into 18. I was also supposed to be out here to, fall in love with the climate, pay that climate tax, and I got married and then bought 2 houses. And so, I'm here forever. The state of California owns me. That said, you'll learn that I'm also a massive lover of rescue dogs. Can't help myself. I have 2, Addo and Moses. They are like Heinz 57s, but, you want to break my heart? You send me a really sad video about something awful happening to a dog. You want to win me over? I'll buy you a drink. You send me a picture of a puppy. That said, if you are into Myers-Briggs, who in this room knows what Myers-Briggs is? Oh, hey, because we're PMMs, we get it. So I'm old school, but I love all of those personality tests. They really help you with conflict resolution. They help you with self-awareness. They even help you figure out how to sell a story and an idea. I am an ENFJ, and I'm gonna, okay. I got some feelers out there. Yes, I'm a big old feeler, and I love it. Sorry, Peter. I have a hard time taking the emotion out of a lot of things, but I'm a big old fan for emotional IQ. That said, to be fair, I thought, well, are there superheroes out there, or who are fictional characters that are also ENFJs? And you guess what? I get to be Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman is supposedly an ENFJ. And that is what I built this deck around, is like, how do you find out what your superhero powers are and who your superhero is in your alternate universe? Now, you are a unicorn to me, right? And if you read the abstract, you're here because there are 3 things right now that are going on in your career, in your role, in your life, whatever. And those 3 things basically button up into 1, right? Redefining your role. I am learning more and more that the PMM function is in an evolution state right now. And in some companies, revolutionary, right? Number 2, you're like, Carenza, help me out a little bit right now with how do I become a strategic partner? Fill in the blank of that cross-functional department. And then last but not least, building a house of innovation. And I love Angela, if you were here for her prezo. She talked about innovation in some really amazing abstract ways. Product, process, business. And it's like, yes, girl, she teed me up. That's what we're gonna do. We are gonna tap into your superpowers. Here they are, you guys. This is what's up. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know and you don't already do, but you're doing it for your business and you're doing it for your products, but this is where you're going to remember, I'm going to do it for myself. Number 1, marketing. Hi, that's what we do, right? And we've seen it all. We've seen successes, we've seen failures. Some of those are ours, but we turn that knowledge into another success. We possess hindsight. It's very important. We possess the ability to sit in a room and hear everything everybody's wanting to do and go, oh, but do you guys remember when we did this and kind of what happened there? We know and think about those questions that aren't being asked, and we pursue the answers that need to be discovered. Hindsight. Number 2, sales. I had a great conversation with another presenter yesterday in the green room where I was like, do we do sales? Do we? And yeah, we do, as a matter of fact. We're out there thinking about pricing and packaging. We're basically that person shaking that 8 ball and being like, oh, what is going to happen today? We're asked to forecast the future, thus foresight. Number 3. This is my love right here. This is my passion, is research. Research. We're asked to basically understand a behavior that may not even be ours intrinsically, but we're asked to own it, to wear it, to feel it, to be it, right? And that's where research comes into play because it helps guide that conversation in a constructive way, thus insight. So again, the superpowers you're already possessing, you're actually already doing them every day, but sometimes you forget to do them for yourself. And that's how you become to find your center, and you go back out into the universe and you start winning. Every superhero, right, has that moment where she hits rock bottom, her kryptonite. What happens to our role and in our function, if you haven't experienced it yet, get ready, put on that seatbelt, it's coming. If you had, thank you for sticking it out and being here to kind of continue to ride that journey. Our kryptonite is when we're put on the peripheral, okay? If you read the PMM market report that was distributed by the summit today, or a couple days back, you're going to see some pretty interesting numbers. That of the PMMs who were in fact surveyed, okay, feel it, over 50% said that they are responsible for revenue at their company. Oh, that's right, we do sales. We don't get like the compensation, but we're doing it. And then what? 45% said that they're responsible for increasing MQL, marketing qualified leads. So we're out there looking for the needles in the haystack. I got it. And then another, 42%, right? Said that we're also responsible for retaining customers. When you don't give us a seat at the table, when we can't get there, roadmap, pricing, packaging, identifying those unmet needs, but you're telling us we're responsible for these things, you become marginalized. And that is not a good feeling for anyone. Now that's something that kind of ebbs and flows, right? Like I've worked at multiple companies and you have that moment where you're like, this is the year, right? But you ride it out, okay? And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take you through a framework that I have followed. And it's a framework where I'm not ready because my culture or my approach or the team I'm on right now is ready for something like this today. So we're not gonna turn that into a process for our department. Maybe I'm gonna take a step back and I'm gonna practice it for myself. So you figure it out. Again, this is a framework and a methodology that I want you to turn into yours. And hopefully this is a guide that gives you that rigor that you can apply and then find that balance for speed. Okay, so someone here said and presented the power of 3. We all know this, right? So number 4, it's shaded out because that's just tweak and repeat. That's what we do all the time. That's what we're constantly doing to perfect what's going on and course correct what's going wrong. So we're gonna focus on these 3 here right about now. I start with research. I told you, that's my love right there. We start with research because once you know who you're solving for, Misha, you get your North Star, right? Okay, and that North Star, we're like actors, okay? You tell us this is the customer, and we're all there. You're like, I want to cast you in a series called Stranger Things. And then we're shaving our head, we're putting the little tattoo of 11, and we're running around being like, zzz, zzz, zzz. We own it. And that's also our passion and our poison. Because they're like, oh, here she comes again. Here comes Carenza talking about the customer. But we're super valuable because that's what's going to win the business is the growth with the customers. That being said, we start with the customer. Number 2, we go into this problem fit world, right? Where if you know who you're solving for, and now you've heard what are those things that are missing for her, now you gotta market. And you basically calibrate those conversations into a place with your product teams around this is what's right. I'm not a big old fan of romantic comedies. I've been married for 14 years and know how it ends, right? But if you were Netflix and you're like, I have to grow romantic comedies for people, I gotta go find the ones that don't like them, you'd probably call me up and I'd be like, I'm busy. But if you did your research, you knew your target customer, and you understand what was missing for me, you would produce something like, what is it? Isn't It Romantic? I think is the movie that has, who's he, what's it, from Pitch Perfect. It was hilarious. It was dark, sarcastic. She spoke my language and she changed the format up a bit. Now I'm just kind of like, maybe I'll give romantic comedies another try, okay? And that's that problem market fit. They figured that one out because they did the research and they calibrated with their product team. Last but not least, I've got GTM Dev up here. Now I like GTM. I'm a typographic, graphic design fan, and so I like how it looks. But the reality is that this is the development of that. And so this is also very, very important here because Yeah, it's going to have messaging. It's going to have KPIs, but we're going to build it with the same people who not only are on the line to make that product live and go out there, but also the teams that are doing those run of show parts, right? Where it's not just, I have declared this is the GTM now, Japan, make that work. I have declared this is your goal. Hi, EMEA, hit that number, right? You build that together. A lot of people like the word collaboration. That's a great one, right? But have you ever experienced yourself with a decision by committee level of collaboration, and you just go into this nightmare of churn, and then someone goes, yeah, you got to ship that yesterday, right? So you got to find that balance. That balance starts with developing something really important and pretty massive with everyone else who's responsible for its success. So let's deep dive, right? I said I'm going to give you a framework, but I want you to be able to adapt it for you, and the only way you can actually do that is if I talk you through the logic, take that logic, and build it for yourself. Talk about research. You're gonna hear some really fun words like qual and quant. They're super sexy, super fun. But what that is that's you getting to know your customer, yes. That's also you understanding the depth at which that customer's feels are the marketplace you're looking at. So from essentially a qualitative standpoint, there are 4 basic deliverables you're going to be asking yourself to create. Again, I'm saying this as maybe you just start with you, right? And then next year you start with they, okay? That can happen. You're gonna be looking at artifacts. Think of it like that. This is an artifact that I use to keep myself on point and get me in a situation where I can articulate these points in a way that Peter can internalize for his business unit or for his product team and his engineers. 1, what are your business theories? I usually have to rein myself in from this excitement because it's like world domination. That's not quite real, right? Or someone gives you 17 and you're like, yeah, research can only do what it can do. So you bring that down into a world that's real and in language that makes sense. So that starts with the target customer. That starts with what are the long-term goals of this product, whether it's in a line extension development or it's net new. Business theories. This is what you're going to use to prove or disprove. If you prove it, great. If you disprove it, awesome. You know where to pivot. 2, that screener. That screener is important. I've seen screeners that are 4 bullet points. I've seen screeners that are 4 pages. But this is where you're refining that target customer and you get everyone on the same page. I've been in places where our buyer is a vice president. Yeah, right. You talk to a sales rep and they're gonna go, so I have like a 19th month sales cycle now because to get to that VP, forget about it. My brother only knows so many people. You bring that in, right? You start grandiose and then again, you bring it down to, and this is reality, you guys, at an 8th grade level to digest this information and get very specific, again, so you can speak back to things. Discussion guides. This is your map in the conversation, so you don't kind of derail and go off on little tangents. It's when you're doing this qualitative research, what are you going to be asking these individuals? How do you navigate those questions and the potential answers back to those fork in the roads that you need to prove or disprove those business theories? Last, this is a nice to have. Mock-ups, visual stimulants. If you've got a net new product that people are like, I don't really know how much my skirt I want to pull up because my competitors might find out. That's fine, that's fine. But at a minimum, you need something that's going to solicit an answer and give context in that qualitative conversation. Then you get this information and you get into the fun stuff, the quantitative. And so this is where a lot of what you've learned in maybe that 10 or 14 interviews you did, you start to say, oh, I heard some signals. Those signals and curiosities cause and create major deviations. Do we explore them? Do we ignore them? Completely up to the circumstances. But now this is where you're going to throw some numbers at that situation because you might find that Carenza is your target customer. And Carenza doesn't like vanilla ice cream, but you're a CPG company. You're Nestle, and you're like, that's a big part of our business. But you might find that only 7% of the Carenzas care. You're like, we're good, we're gonna keep going. Or you could find that 97%, and you're like, yeah, we're not doing vanilla ice cream this year. You refine those business theories. That's the first artifact there. You refine them against those signals. So you start to understand, this is what we thought, pushed against what we learned, this is what we're gonna do. Number 2, refine that screener. You started out with VP and C-suite. Now you're like, just to get those turkeys on the phone took me 6 months. just to do an interview, I'm going to pay them $350 for. That's probably not going to be your target customer, at least for your sales team. Again, it's refinement. And then last but not least, that's that questionnaire. That questionnaire is where you're going to get those data points that 7% of our target customer like it versus 70%, right? And again, this is something you do for yourself to put yourself in a situation where you can then go have that articulate conversation, or you hire a vendor, or you work with your market research. What is it? They call them market insights and analysis at some companies, like MIA, which I think is ironic. But that's what you're going to do. Take these artifacts, build them as you choose, use them for yourself. Deep dive here, problem market fit. You hear product market fit a lot. I can get down on that. But I'm a PMM, and I think about solving problems. So I like to think of it as the problem market fit. Because now what we're doing is we're navigating to something tangible, not inspirational or aspirational, but tangible. And that's what people vote for with their wallets, right? So when you start here, you're picking it up from the research. You're synthesizing all that information, all of those verbatims, all of those quotes that, Greg over here is going to use in a meeting and say, yeah, well, remember Qual? Carensis said, and you're going to be like, Carensis is only 7% of the market. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. What's next, right? You synthesize all that information into themes. We are storytellers, right? You give us a theme, we will rock the house with that theme. This is where you create those themes. You put them in logical language to where then you, go in a line. Call up Greg, who's your product manager, like, yo, I got something to share. You're gonna love this. And you sit down with Greg and you essentially identify, let's say 3, right? The power of 3. 3 things, 3 benefits, 3 values, 3 pillars, whatever your company uses as that vernacular, but the 3 reasons why we're going to build this baby and win the market, okay? And you say, hey, Greg, what are you building in the product that's actually delivering on that, right? What's the proof? What's the proof that this is an easy-to-use product? What is the proof that it's actually highly performant? What is the proof that we're committed to interoperability? What's the proof? And Greg might scratch his head and be like, well, here's my roadmap. And you're like, none of that's in here, Greg. None of that's in here. Is it too late? Or you're going to be like, this is crazy. Explain this to me. And that's fine. Because ultimately what you're doing, and I have used this language before with product managers, my job is to get what's in your heart and in your head, right, to the world. Will you let me do that for you? But I need you to help me get inside your head and inside your heart. Let's do that together. You identify the proof points, and last but not least, you plan, okay? Yes, we're planners, right? But this is where we actually plan with our PM against that release. So you're like, scary words. When are you going to be feature complete, right? When's QA shipping? Have you tested this with the cloud tech team? But essentially, he's right there with you, or she, or they. And you're building a funnel, right? A funnel that you can actually then go, these were the 3 things we said that we were going to fulfill those unmet needs. These are the proof points that we're shipping in this product. And now we're going to track that. So if we said it was easy to use, well, Greg, how long do you think it should take a person to download this app? Or Sasank, these are actual PMs I work with. Sasank, what's the time in which someone should be able to expedite these 3 actions that we think are the most valuable actions someone should experience to understand the value? And then we're going to track against that. And then they're with you and they're going, we're going to build those funnels to do that right data attribution, right? Because everybody has that. You're tracking that end-to-end journey that you specified from the beginning in the experience. All right. The GTM development. And again, the reason why I call it a development is because have you ever written a GTM that was 63 slides? I have. And have you ever looked at it and wanted to kill yourself because you were like, how'd I get to 66? Who is even going to read this? And the one that you present to your C-suite is like 3 slides. You're like, what? This is how that happens. Again, now there are some sections here, 3 and 4, we're not going to go into because you all know this is what you do for a living, right? You build that plan with your comms team and everyone else, and you got your run a show, and then you put it out in the world, and then you do your 30, your 60, and your 90-day accountability check-ins, wrap-ups, if you call them that, report cards, performance, whatevs. We're going to focus on 1 and 2. 1 and 2, you're going to go, she's got messaging up there. Does she not know what I do for a living? Yes, I do. But this is, again, a methodology so that you guys can walk away and be like, I heard this, I wanted this, but I'm going to do all of this, okay? So messaging and strategy. Now, these two groups, or these two steps, if you will, I work with different teams on. But it just so happens product is in both. Again, now you've got the seat at the table, you've got Greg and Sasank's attention, and now you're speaking from a very articulate place because you got your data points, and they're just kind of like, show me the way, right? Messaging, I always work with product and research. Now, you might be a research team of one, and that is okay, and you get the gold star. But like I said, this is when you sit down and you say, did we build these three things in there? What are those proof points? Because if we're going to make these promises in our content and all of our collateral, we got to pay out on those promises, okay? You build the messaging there, and then in the strategy. I talked about like the data attribution piece, building out that end-to-end. This is when I sit down with product because, I need them here with me, okay? They're super smart, brilliant individuals. And I need business intelligence or analytics or data scientists, whomever it is, the title that you've given to that individual that basically goes into Tableau for you because and goes, beep, bop, 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 Carenza, 37,000, Carenza, 2%, Carenza, nothing. And I say, what is the data that we have? And can I get that data on an hourly basis, or can I get that data faster than in 1 week? And the reason why I give that parameter is because brilliant people will say, technical people, developers, engineers will say, I can do anything, but you need to give me time and money. When it comes to data, I never have either, or rather GTMs, I never have either. So it's just like what already exists. Can I get that data on a regular basis by myself so that I can do those wrap-ups? So that's how I set this up. Because you gotta set yourself up for success, right? There's nothing worse than being like, I promised all these things and none of it is happening. So let's drill down. Messaging, here you go. This is messaging I made up when I worked for a company called Adobe. I have replaced some of the language, so I'm being all kosher there for my fam. But this is an example of a messaging that I would have written for a product that might be out now, okay? And what I did was I sat down with my product person, and those business theories we started out with, this one came through and true the whole time. Was ultimately, we were building 3D software for graphic designers, okay? And the thing that came out of all that qual and quant consistently was that they were like, I am not spending 10,000 hours again to learn new software. And 3D software is super crazy. I get like a cockpit syndrome when I learn. I was like, I don't even know what to touch, right? So easy to use was something that we had to really double down on. My messaging focused on that value and then the language that directly addressed the objection that they had to all of the competitors or the current solutions out there. And then look at this fun little list right here. So I built this in Sheets, and I had a really hard time with the bullets, so you get like a stream of consciousness. But these were the product components, some of them real, some of them not, that the product manager said, we're shipping these things that marry up into that they're gonna actually tangibly feel. So this is an example of a messaging exercise that I would do with my product manager, and then we'd come away really happy about, and then my product manager always had my back. When we went somewhere else and someone was like, I just don't like the word friction-free, or I don't like this verb, and my PM was right there with me being like, eighth grade language, right? And we became partners, right? And he basically helped me enforce this messaging and enforce this strategy. Did I go up? I did. Okay, here's a breakdown of the strategy. Such a fun word. I worked at Razorfish many years ago when they were a thing. I don't know if they still are. And everybody would drop that word. Drop it like it was super hot. And then you get in these meetings and everything was like super tactical. And you're like, what? Do I not know what the word means? So here's the strategy here where, hey, look at that. Look at all those words. Data. How many times are you asked to be more metrics oriented? How many times are you asked to be like, how do you measure this? Can you measure this over here? Data, yo. So this is what up. You start with data. Remember I told you I sit down with the people who are super smarter than I am, and I'd be like, what's available, right? We establish what it is that we can actually report back against. Because again, you can't report on it, it's like it didn't happen. Or if it did and it was a success, you didn't do it. But if you did and it was a failure, Misha, you were in that meeting, okay? So you establish what it is we can in fact track. Then you move into charting against that, right? So for those of you in the audience who do know me, hi, it's good to see you again. I like the word funnel, feature funnel. And when I say something's easy to use, I expect it to be used. But I also expect to see some little moments of faith and a milestone in that journey. When I'm touching an app, I expect to see this menu option tapped X number of times. I expect to see this actual, like if there's an output, like it's save as, I expect to see save as expedited every day. If it's easy to use, people should be able to say whatever it is that they did. So you chart your data points that you're going to capture to report against your funnel here. Last, build for data. So this is where, and it goes back to those business theories, okay? And then making sure you've got those proof points. Like if you said this was easy to use, damn sure better be, right? If it isn't, you have the data points to inform you on where you need to pivot. So if you thought people were going to download this and this X number we're going to download, and then X number we're going to create a login, or X number we're going to then immediately create something, and people aren't even downloading it, we're brilliant, because you know what we know is we need stronger awareness, or we need activation reminders. We need a drip campaign. We know how to fix it, but we can't find the cancer if we don't know what the symptoms are surrounding it, and that is what this does, okay? So, all right, I work for Twitter. We like acronyms and hashtags, so hashtag in case you missed it. Your superpowers that you do every day, but you stop doing them for yourselves, is this right here: hindsight, foresight, and insight. You're doing them when you write those GTMs. Now you just need to do them for yourself a little bit, and you need to figure out, how do I start to insert this area of expertise for myself and my relationships? How do I find that dose of confidence to speak with conviction? Not confrontation, conviction, right? How do I show and remind people, yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing. Could you let me do it? And by the way, I'm a relationship builder, so I want to do it with you, right? That's what we got. So, questions, comments? This deck, I understand, will be distributed. So I know I went really quickly and I did not read. So if there are things in here you want to drill down a little bit on, like get some templates, let me know. Happy to share that. But I need to keep it tight for my girl, Misha, here.
Stay here.
Oh.
So if you're not all the way in the front, you might not know she is walking on broken bones right now, and she's probably re-broken about 4 of them with the 10,000 steps.
Met my deductible.
And now she can sit for the rest of the day. The other thing I just realized is that these chairs go out and become lazy boys. So for all of you people who are sitting in the stairwells and all you people who are having trouble seeing, just know that you can stage an uprising in a few minutes and try to trade seats. Anybody have any questions? We do have about 8 minutes. So you got the first one.
Do you work at Twitter? Oh, okay, sorry. Sounds so familiar. Yes. What I experienced in maybe that company was that happened a lot. And that was not their fault, right? So many things go crazy. If anyone in here was ever an engineer or married someone or works with them, stuff breaks, right? That's where, when we're on the peripheral, that is the difference between a company thriving and a company surviving. And in those scenarios, it's really just, it's the tactical stuff you're already doing. It's those regular check-ins. One of the things I do like to do after like the 3rd or 4th week is like kind of come in and say, it's cool if this changes, but if it changes, this is what will happen, right? And then you've characterized in a way that they can internalize and then be like, now I gotta fight harder, or Carenza, and they'll get real with you at this point. It's gonna change. And now you're prepared. So I've tried that tactic as well. That's happened.
All right. Next question. I think, yes, right over there in the blue. And wait until the microphone comes, please.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks. This was a great chat.
Thank you.
How do you deal with product leaders that consider themselves visionary and they think that
You met Jack, right? You've seen him? Yeah.
That they think that the customer, the user, doesn't know what they need, and so any research that you do is invalid because they know better.
Yeah. That's one of the ones where it's just like, I could give you like, ugh, but it's really when you're in it, you're just like, I got to pick my battles and let it ride, right? That's also why I do try to get data-based information, right? And again, it's that upfront socialization that we're so good at because we get the chance to do it. That's where I try to hedge that off. At the same time, when I'm doing that market research, I'm also kind of listening and looking for what I got a vibe that they're gonna wanna deviate to. And I always kind of keep that in my back pocket. Like I was talking about romantic comedies, and like if the target customer is this totally unrealistic person I know they can't capture, but they're gonna go after that one anyway, I tend to keep that in my back pocket too and just get ready. Like foresight, hello, we do it. Like that's what it is. You gotta exercise that muscle.
Okay, we are right at our time, and so you'll next see her at a TEDx or on a Netflix comedy special. Give it up for
Yeah,
Corinne.
let's do a romantic comedy.
We'll start the next one in about 2 minutes or so. Or actually, we got about 4 minutes.